Yo, what is up, guys? It's your boy American Dream here, and we're back on the last part of this season of this three-part trilogy, I guess you could say. Anyways, we're talking about 2016 rankings, wide receivers, sprinkling a couple tight ends. We don't really need to go over all the tight ends because, tight end isn't really a huge part of any fantasy team unless you get like somebody like Gronk or Delaney Walker, but we'll throw those guys in anyways. First off, let's start off by comparing Odell and Antonio Brown. Who do I think is the best? I personally think Odell is. He scores more touchdowns than Antonio. That's the only reason why. Fantasy-wise, that's 6 points in my league, and that's just regular point standard right there. Plus, I do PPR, so that's 7 for me touchdown-wise. Now, Antonio Brown, he doesn't get those touchdowns, but he gets more receptions, so it just depends on how you look at it. If you're in a PPR, Antonio Brown, Odell Beckham, tit for tat, whoever you like better. Roethlisberger's a little bit more consistent than Eli Manning, I guess, but I'd take them both. Eli's a good quarterback as well. But just for me, it's Odell. Now we got Julio Jones and DeAndre Hopkins. I'm kind of ranking them the same as well. I feel like DeAndre's going to have a better season than last season, which sounds ridiculous because he had an amazing season last year, but now he's got Osweiler throwing him the ball. You don't have to worry about, who's the Texans quarterback this week? Oh, yep, it's just going to be Osweiler all year. Julio, you got Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan's a good quarterback. Nothing wrong with Matt Ryan. So I'd expect about Julio last year performance, DeAndre Hopkins look for a little bit better. Jordy Nelson, I don't like him because he tore his ACL. You gotta remember that any ACL injury is tough in football. You can't really, it's a hard injury to bounce back from. That's why I'm against Jamal Charles this year. It's just tough on a player. Dez Bryant's next. I don't like Dez Bryant because Tony Romo's gonna be more than likely injured again this year, and probably all year. The dude just can't stay healthy. He's just fantasy kryptonite for wide receivers because the Cowboys' backup running backs quarterbacks are terrible. They're just terrible. AJ Green is next up, and I'm going to say AJ Green's going to have a good year. Honestly, Andy Dalton, he's coming into his own. He's going to be a top quarterback this year, I'm predicting. Anyways, let's go to Allen Robinson now, and I feel like Allen Robinson, is the same as AJ Green. Bortles is coming into his own now. You're getting all these quarterbacks that are coming up, and it's finally happening. Anyways, we got Demaryius Thomas now. Who knows? Denver lost Osweiler, Manning. I don't know how they're going to do well with that. But let's just keep this going. Brandon Cooks. No. I just can't get into Brandon Cooks this year. Brandon Cooks is just, I don't know. He's fast. He's a great player. But I don't know. He just doesn't perform how I think he should perform. I don't really see him as a top 10. Keenan Allen this year, really good if he can stay healthy. I predict him going in the 3rd round, and I think that'd be a great second wide receiver or even a first wide receiver. But next we got Brandon Marshall. Brandon Marshall, consistent, so consistent. He's always there. He's always getting the same amount of points. I love Brandon Marshall for this, and I feel like he's going to be one of the best this year. Alshon Jeffrey, a great wide receiver. Only problem, injuries. Injured. That's why I'm saying handcuffing Kevin White to Alshon Jeffrey. That's how I'm just going to put it this year. Next we got Julian Edelman. No, don't take Edelman. Brady's suspended. If you're going to take Edelman, don't take him until at least mid-4th. Randall Cobb's next. I'm saying the same thing. Mid-4th. I don't like Randall Cobb. He just can't. Something about him. Last year he shit the bed. He was the number 1 there. Who knows? Kelvin Benjamin's next. I like Kelvin Benjamin this year. I feel like if Cam Newton is going to do good, he's going to have to rely on Benjamin and Olsen. I don't really like Cam Newton this year, but I can see you taking Benjamin late, and you're going to get good production out of him. Mike Evans is next. Mike Evans is a great wide receiver. The only problem is Jameis Winston, and I feel like it's the same for Vincent Jackson. I like Mike Evans and Vincent Jackson. It's just Jameis. I don't know how I feel about him fantasy-wise yet and how many catches they're both going to get. Next, we got Sammy Watkins. Sammy Watkins, just like Brandon Marshall, consistent. I like him this year. I say you could take Sammy and you'd be fine. He'd be a good flex or two wide receiver. Golden Tate is next. Golden Tate, ooh, just a second string wide receiver in real football, NFL football. This is why I like, honestly, if you're going to take Golden Tate, I'd take him as a fill-in. I wouldn't take him as a starter. Amari Cooper's next. Now, I like Amari Cooper in the flex this year. Amari Cooper, ooh, golden. I feel like he's going to put in a lot of production. Derek Carr's coming into his own. I like them this year. I like Oakland this year. Next, we got Eric Decker. Eric Decker, I'm going to say kind of the same thing as he could be a flex, but I'm going to kind of put him in the same ballpark with Golden Tate. T.Y. Hilton, great wide receiver if Andrew Luck's healthy. I think he's going to be top-notch if Andrew Luck's healthy. And I think Andrew Luck will be healthy. Honestly, you might be able to snag T.Y. Hilton late, and he's going to give you great production. He might even give you like a number 2 wide receiver production, and you might be able to get him in the 4th or the 5th round. Emmanuel Sanders is next. Emmanuel Sanders, how do I put this? Kind of disappointment last season. He did so well the season before that, and now he's just not there. It just doesn't make sense to me. I feel like Emmanuel, he's going to be good, but he's just a flex at best. Jeremy Maclin, flex at best. I'm going to say the same thing. I just can't get behind Alex Smith. Jordan Matthews, flex at best. I can't get behind Sam Bradford. Doug Baldwin, I actually like him later as a number 2 wide receiver because Russell Wilson, he's only got Baldwin and Graham as far as I can see. If somebody's going to get those touchdowns, it's probably going to be Baldwin, only because Beast Mode's gone. So who knows how the new guy, I'm blanking out on his name right now. It's actually kind of making me mad. I got to scroll up on this list and look at it. Let me see. Thomas Rawls. Who knows how he's going to kind of fit in that role? I actually think highly of Thomas Rawls, but I think of him later in the season as he develops more. I think he'll be good. But right now, I'm looking at Doug Baldwin as that main guy. Next, we got Devonta Parker and Jarvis Landry. Now, I like both of them. I like Tannehill. I could actually see these being 2 good backup wide receivers. I feel like you'd be good putting them in as fill-ins, and you wouldn't have to worry. And if you're in a 12-team league, obviously, that could be your flex or your number 2 wide receiver if you don't take wide receivers early and you worry about more quarterback-wise. I don't do 12-team leagues, though, so I can't really help you out there. I'm not the best guy to ask for that. But I know who I would draft. John Brown. John Brown is amazing. I like him because Carson Palmer, I don't think he's got it in him this year. I don't think he's got enough juice in the tank. I feel like he's going to dump it off, and who's he going to dump it to? John Brown, and that's why I'm going to rank John Brown higher than they actually put him. I see John Brown as a good flex wide receiver this year. And I'm sorry for saying that thing about 12-team leagues. It's not that I'm bashing against them. It's just the last 12-team league I was in, I went 16-0, and that's not even a lie. I just can't get 12 people, and it's just too much work because there's not enough good players. That's why I like standing in more 10-team PPR. That's generally what I'm in. Larry Fitzgerald's next. I don't like Fitzgerald this year. Too old. Carson Palmer, too old. 2 wrongs don't make a right. 2 olds don't make it young. I guess you could say that's a terrible analogy. That's my bad. Next, we got Michael Crabtree. Oh, Crabtree. I'm going to say Crabtree could be a really good fill-in as long as Sherman's not on him. Malcolm Floyd. Not Malcolm, I mean Michael, my bad. Michael Floyd, he could be there, he could not be there, who knows. Michael Floyd, I almost called him Malcolm again. I don't really like him this year. Torrey Smith, I like him, but as a fill-in, and I think as the year kind of progresses, as the season progresses, I feel like he could be moved into that flex spot, but honestly, he might just be a waiver wire pickup, or you might draft him late and you get good production out of him. Dante Moncrief is next. I feel like he's a good waiver wire spot. Who knows? Josh Gordon. I like Josh Gordon because he can perform like a good wide receiver, like an amazing wide receiver, only if he's not suspended or injured. Who knows? This guy, he's been suspended a couple times. The saddest suspension I think this year was Martavis Bryant. I can't stand it. He's out for the year off suspension, but that's so many touchdowns I'm missing out on there, you know. I took him last year in like the 8th, and gosh, that's the best pick I took. Anyways, let's get back in this. Allen Hurns. I like Allen Hurns. I think he's kind of like a Martavis Bryant. He scores a lot of touchdowns. And, you know, these touchdown guys in fantasy, huge. Deshaun Jackson, you know, you're getting return yards too, but I just can't see him. He's not that good anymore, in my opinion. Steve Smith Sr., just too old. Stephon Diggs, I can't get behind Diggs. And I'm going to scroll down a little bit more. We got Travis Benjamin. He had a couple good games last year, but I don't see him doing the same thing. Now, who I will tell you to look out for is Kamar Aiken. This dude is a beast, but nobody really knows about him. But he's kind of that second string in Baltimore. But I feel like Steve Smith, he could get hurt, or he could just not perform, and they might bench him or whatever. Kamar Aiken's going to be that guy to fill in that spot, and he's going to do a good job. He'll be Joe Flacco's guy. I also want to tell you to look out for Josh Doxson and Doral Green Beckham. Beckham is a monster. Have you ever seen this guy? He's like 6'5", and he's huge. Doxson, he did really well for TCU, and I think that's going to translate into the NFL. I think he's going to be a great wide receiver. Alright, now let's go to tight ends. Rob Gronkowski, I'm going to tell you no right now, because Tom Brady is suspended. I can't get behind any receiver with Tom Brady being suspended. By receiver, I also mean tight end. Anyways, next we got Jordan Reed. I like Jordan Reed, but you better be careful. You better keep an eye out on backup tight ends. Jordan Reed gets hurt a lot. Anyways, let's go to Greg Olsen. Olsen's a great player to have on your team. He's a consistent tight end. The only person I like better than Greg Olsen right now is Delanie Walker. I like Delanie Walker, number 1 tight end this year. I feel like he's going to be the best because he's not dealing with Brady being suspended, or he has an injury risk, but not as big as Jordan Reed. You know, he's Greg Olsen and Delanie Walker. I'm going to rank Delanie a little bit higher than Olsen, but those are going to be my top 2 tight ends this year. Tyler Eifert, I like him too. Gary Barnage, I feel like this dude could be there. It's just Cleveland, they can't get a quarterback set up, and it's just going to affect it. Cleveland's where QBs go to die, honestly, in my opinion. And that affects your receiver pool. Next we got Julius Thomas and Jimmy Graham and Ladarius Green. I like Ladarius Green this year. Ladarius Green, he's a fast tight end. You know, he's a big guy. I like Roethlisberger throwing in the ball. I'd actually look for him as a tight end spot this year. I feel like he could perform really well under that Pittsburgh deal. Julius Thomas. Julius, if he could stay healthy, he's going to be up there. Better tight ends. Jimmy Graham, I feel like he's just deleted once he went to the Seahawks. They don't use him right, in my opinion. Martellus Bennett, it sucks so much that he's in New England now, being a second string. There's just not enough there. Charles Clay, you could actually look at him as a tight end pick later in the year, you know. He could be a good pickup for if one of your tight ends gets hurt or anything like that. So could Eric Ebron. Ebron could be good. And let's just go through here who I think you should probably keep an eye out for. Kyle Rudolph, there's another one. Austin Seferian Jenkins. I don't like Antonio Gates this year. He's just too old now. You know, he can't get it going anymore. It's not his fault, but anyways, that's gonna be about all the time we have here. That's the end of the series, and that's kind of sad. This is my first 3 videos on this channel. If you want more videos like this, just leave a like, and I'll probably, and then coming up we're gonna do, well, never mind, peace.